Como una promesa eres tú, una mañana.
Is that the best you can do?
Have some faith, Papi. Have some faith.
Outside the prison, a powerful organization was pulling the strings. As Michael's brother Lincoln had claimed, he did not kill the vice president's brother. He had been framed. A mysterious group had fabricated surveillance footage from the crime scene. During their cleanup, they discovered that Lincoln had a brother named Michael, who was also imprisoned in the same facility for robbery. They immediately guessed what he was planning. They quickly contacted a mysterious woman, the true mastermind behind everything. She ordered her subordinates to approach the warden and threaten him using his deceased illegitimate child, forcing him to transfer Michael to another prison. Although the warden had previously relied on Michael's help, his own family's safety came first. He had no choice but to comply. But Michael refused to give up. He sought advice from D.B. Cooper, a man who had been imprisoned for 80 years. The experienced Cooper said, "It's quite simple. Just submit a formal request, using any excuse. Say you're feeling unwell. Once the higher-ups reject it, the process will take at least a month. During that time, no one can touch you." Michael immediately went to the head warden. Upon receiving the request, the warden, aware that Michael had learned the system well, smiled and silently approved. Michael resumed his escape plan. He had Sucre pretend to hang laundry as cover, while he slipped into the structural gaps inside the cell. Searching for a passage to the infirmary, Michael discovered a concrete wall blocking the way. Since cell checks were conducted at random intervals,
Not that hot! When this guy woke up this morning, he was white!
You want to cool off?
Michael needed to create chaos to buy more time for digging the escape tunnel. He wanted the guards to put the inmates in solitary confinement, so there would be no cell checks. This would allow his escape plan to proceed smoothly. He made his way into the prison's structural interior and climbed to the air conditioning room, where he cut off the power supply. On a hot summer day, the inmates felt like they were in a sauna. Led by Teabag, the prisoners started a riot, declaring they would not return to their cells until the air conditioning was restored. The guards, faced with the escalating unrest, threatened to put them all in solitary confinement, but retreated in fear. In the chaos, however, the guards forgot to lock the inmates back in their cells. The captain tried to regain control of the situation, but Teabag mocked him relentlessly. He said only those who failed to become police officers ended up as prison guards. Bellick couldn't take the insult and fired back angrily.
I read your psych records about how your daddy raped his mongoloid sister, and then 9 months later, little Teddy pops out.
When Teabag heard this, he exploded with rage. He led the inmates in violently shaking the protective gate, which soon began to loosen. Terrified, Bellick quickly retreated with the guards. Before long, the cell gate was broken open by the inmates. Teabag even found a set of keys in the monitoring room, which could release all the prisoners in the prison. The inmates scattered, searching for exits. Bellick sensed disaster looming, and drew his gun, ready to confront them, but his colleagues stopped him in time. The prison was full of desperate men. How many could his bullets actually take down? Helpless, Bellick had to report to his superiors and request backup.
I read your psych records about how your daddy raped his mongoloid sister, and then 9 months later, little Teddy pops out.
When the inmates in the infirmary heard that the cell block was now under prisoner control, their true nature emerged. They first knocked out the guard on duty, and then turned their attention to Dr. Sarah. Sarah hurriedly hid in a room. She barricaded the door with a table and tried to call for help, but the phone line had already been cut by the inmates. Several men forcefully pounded on the door. One of them even reached his hand through the gap, trying to unlock it, but Sarah injected a sedative into his arm, and he quickly passed out. The media widely reported the news, and word of the Fox River prison riot soon reached the governor. Since Sarah was the governor's daughter, he immediately dispatched special forces to the prison. Meanwhile, Michael and Sucre took advantage of the chaos to work on breaking through the wall. They needed to create a passage between the infirmary and the cell to prepare for their eventual escape. However, an unexpected incident once again disrupted their plans. Teabag captured a guard and, after beating him up, threw him into Michael's cell. He then delivered another kick. Instinctively, the guard grabbed onto the sink, causing the loosened sink to collapse. Teabag was stunned. No wonder Michael had been acting suspiciously every day. He was planning an escape, and this scene was also witnessed by the guard.
And the daughter, please.
We gotta kill him. The cops are right outside. And they'll stay outside as long as they know we're keeping him alive.
But he's a guard. He's gonna
What
squeal.
the hell
Does this have to do with you anyway? This is not any of your concern.
The man was absolutely insane. To break through the escape passage, he actually planned to use a catapult to penetrate the half-meter-thick concrete wall. He took out a spotlight, then attached a reflector made of tin foil, placed the demon pattern in front of the light, and projected the pattern onto the wall. Sucre was stunned, not understanding what it meant. Michael tossed him a metal catapult. Sucre said, "You're actually asking me to use this to break the wall." Michael calmly explained, "We only need to create a few small holes. This will compromise the wall's load-bearing capacity, allowing us to easily dismantle it." Sucre didn't understand but didn't ask further. He picked up the catapult and started drilling holes. However, an unexpected incident disrupted their escape plan. The secret of the escape was discovered by Teabag and the guard, John, who arrived just in time, gagged Teabag. Hearing the noise, Michael crawled out of the tunnel, but then the question arose. It wasn't a problem if Teabag saw all this. Since he was serving a life sentence, they could bring him into the escape plan. But what should they do about the guard?
And the daughter, please.
We gotta kill him. The cops are right outside. And they'll stay outside as long as they know we're keeping him alive.
But he's a guard. He's gonna
What
squeal.
the hell?
Does this have to do with you anyway? This is not any of your concern.
Meanwhile, in the infirmary, the inmates were frantically smashing the glass. Sarah picked up a shard of glass, preparing for the worst. This scene was caught by Michael on the surveillance monitor. He instructed the others not to harm the guard, and hurried to rescue Sarah, who was in danger.
Come on. Grab my hand.
Michael reached Sarah's room, and the two escaped through the ventilation shaft. They found a safe spot and climbed down. Just as Michael was about to help Sarah leave the prison, they were spotted by a sniper. Sarah shielded Michael, fearing the sniper might accidentally shoot him, as they tried to figure out how to escape. Inmates burst in. Michael quickly pushed Sarah aside, and dropped to the ground, successfully dodging the bullets. The inmates who rushed in scattered in panic. Amid the chaos, Michael managed to escape back to the cell block. When the governor saw that his daughter was safe, he had no more reservations, and immediately ordered a full-scale assault. Meanwhile, Sucre and John, following Michael's instructions, finished drilling all the small holes. The next step was to break down the wall.
We did it.
The two excitedly returned to the cell block, fully convinced of Michael's expertise, but Teabag only wanted to kill the guard, since he was serving a life sentence. This tunnel was his only chance to escape. Despite repeated warnings from the others, the ruthless Teabag took advantage of the chaos, and stabbed the guard to death.
We did it.
They finally broke through the wall, allowing access from the cell to the infirmary, and then escaped through the infirmary. But his brother Lincoln, sentenced to death, was placed in solitary confinement, making it impossible to reach his cell. Michael studied the prison's architectural blueprints, and found that above the intersection of the steam pipes and drainage pipes was a storage room. By opening a hole there, everyone could reach the infirmary. The mob boss told Michael, that area is off limits to prisoners, unless there's a fire requiring repairs. After discussion, they carried flammable materials into the storage room. As they opened the door, a guard aimed his gun at them. It turned out the storage room had been converted into a guard lounge.
Back it up. Back it up now!
Sorry, officer. Won't happen again.
The escape plan faced another obstacle. Just then, they noticed DB Cooper could move in and out freely. Lincoln explained that the guards trusted Cooper completely.
Which means we gotta get him on board.
Forget it. Guy's a Boy Scout.
Michael still decided to give it a try, but no matter how much Michael pleaded, Cooper refused to escape with him. As soon as Cooper returned to his cell, Captain Bellick approached him. Guard Bob had been killed during the riot, and his body happened to land near Cooper's cell door. Bellick wanted information from him. Cooper knew the rules of this place. If you snitch, you won't survive here. No matter how much Bellick begged, he was ultimately rejected. Getting no clues, Bellick immediately turned hostile, and even tickled Cooper's cat. The next day, Cooper returned to find his cat lying motionless on the bed, its body already stiff. Old Cooper was devastated. The cat was his only emotional support in prison. He knew Bellick had killed it. Cooper decided to take revenge. He went to the guard lounge, placed a coffee pot with rubber adhesive on the power source, then opened Bellick's locker, and took out his cigarettes. Cooper lit a lighter. and before long, the lounge was filled with thick smoke. Happiness came so suddenly, but before Bellick could even rejoice, Cooper walked past him. Soon,
Thanks. I didn't do it for you.
the fire in the lounge was extinguished. Investigators found cigarette remnants at the scene.
Back it up! Back it up now!
Sorry, officer. Won't happen again.
This is Teabag's new lackey. He went to Bellick and said he knew who the murderer was.
I know who killed Bob, sir.
Then a group of guards came to arrest someone. Soon, they found a photo of the victim's daughter under the mattress. Securing all the evidence, the guards directly took Teabag's cellmate away. This was all a trap set by Teabag. He knew that if he couldn't find someone to take the blame, he would be exposed. Michael didn't want Teabag to join them, but Teabag knew the secret of the escape, so they had no choice but to bring him along. To get back at Bellick, Cooper set the break room on fire and framed Bellick for it. To repair the burned break room, they were quickly assigned to renovate the area. Their task was to break a hole in the floor. To prepare for the future escape, the group started breaking the hole, with one person keeping watch at the door. Each of them secretly disposed of the rubble in unmanned areas. However, they were discovered by the drug dealer Benjamin. Bellick suddenly approached John. It turned out the reason he could manage the prison factory was that John's outside company regularly transferred money to Bellick's account every month. But this month, he hadn't received the payment. Bellick threatened him, saying that if the money didn't arrive soon, he would assign the prison factory to someone else. John quickly called to inquire, and learned that his company had gone bankrupt. If he lost control of the prison factory, the hole they had dug would be discovered. While they were worrying about this, Teabag's lackey sought Michael's help. He could no longer endure Teabag's humiliation. Michael, preoccupied with the escape plan, had no mental energy to deal with this, and ignored him. A few days later, the lackey hanged himself. Witnessing this, Michael was filled with guilt. He decided to teach Teabag a lesson. Meanwhile, Bellick transferred management of the prison factory to John's former associate. They picked up their tools and headed toward the break room, where the hole was hidden.